most goalkeepers are drawn to it because they're a little bit different.
To be able to throw yourself at someone's feet, you've got to have something a little bit wrong. You would actually put your head where the people with the feet. If Bruce Grobelaar had been around social media time, God knows what would have made it. But it would have been entertaining, shall we say.
I've always taken, when I work with a good leader, I learn from their best bits, but I also pick apart their worst bits. And just, you kind of decide for yourself what do you want to be known for and what do you not want to be.
And there's depth as a brush. And I think that helps with the kids as well, especially when you work from there. At junior level, got to be as left as a bush. They've had a band at school or whatever. They're all human, they're all personable, they're all very mellow characters, they're all very calm and centered and prepared to listen. And the person first, a lot has changed. I don't think you'd be able to get away with as much of his eccentricities now as you would.
Welcome to Catching Up, the new podcast from Evo Goalkeeper. Today, I'm joined by goalkeeping coach Iain Longstaff, part of the team here at Evo, and we're going to dive deep into his backstory. From the first heroes who inspired him, to the setbacks that tested him, and the lessons he now passes on to the next generation of keepers. Iain is fantastically honest, he's inspiring, and this is absolutely jam-packed with advice for anyone who loves the game, but particularly if you're involved in goalkeeping. Give it a watch, let us know what you think.
Welcome everyone to the very first edition of Catching Up with Evo Goalkeeper. I'm Paul, I'm going to be the host for this season of the podcast. And my very first guest today is part of the team, Iain Longstaff. Welcome.
Welcome. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. You've been with Evo for how long now?
About 6 years now.
I'm going to rewind back some time because what we want to do with this series is to just kind of give a bit of the information, the origin stories of some of the guests that we've got on the show. The point of this series is really to get under the skin of some of the coaches that we'll be interviewing. Podcast built for everyone, right? We want to interact with the whole goalkeeper community, from young coaches to more experienced coaches, young goalkeepers to all the goalkeepers, parents of goalkeepers. Over the next few episodes, you're going to see us talk with some of the most amazing goalkeeper coaches out there. And honestly, Iain, it's an actual privilege for me to talk with some of you guys because you guys have done so much. And for the people, my son's going through the camp, that's how I met James, that's how I became part of the team. And he's 7 and he sees all these goalkeepers and he goes through all the camps and stuff. And when I told him that what we're doing, he's so excited to see what we're going to be delivering. So without any further ado, I'm going to get into it. First question, who was your goalkeeping idol growing up? And what was it about them that kind of stood out to you?
So we're going to go back a very, very long way. So we've got to take in consideration my age. But my first goalkeeping idol was my dad. Playing goal. Very good as a young man. Apparently, I've missed bits because unfortunately my dad passed away when I was 11. So there's a bits that's missing. But my dad was my first goalkeeper. Absolutely loved watching him at times when going down. Never wanted me to be a goalkeeper, despite being a goalkeeper himself. But that might do with him having loads of injuries. Despite being a firefighter, he had more injuries playing sport, football, and when he was goalkeeper, he's tibial and fibula. So as a young baby, not really understanding, I used to use that as a slide and go down on it. I don't think that's helped the breaks. But no, my dad was my first goalkeeping hero. He never really wanted me to be a goalkeeper, as I said. But I started playing four-a-side football, believe it or not. And he watched us play and thought, well, there's potential there. So then gave in and eventually follow him into the clubs.
So when you say your dad was a goalkeeper, what sort of level did he play? Was it kind of Sunday league?
Yeah, he played Sunday league. Both him and me had trials when we were younger. My uncle was an outfield player. My dad was goalkeeper, and they say he had trials at Newcastle. But I think his height went against him at the time. He had to be probably 6 foot odd. And my dad was only about 5'8", so he was one of them. And he just loved the position, I think, and just being involved. And I think probably that's why he ended up going in the fire service. He liked the thrill.
I think it's fair to say that most goalkeepers are drawn to it because they're a little bit different. Don't get me wrong, I never got to any sort of level. I played at skill yard level, right? That was level of goalkeeping. But I loved goalkeepers. I loved the idea of being in goal. Just was never very good at it. And I just think we're all a bit mentally different. I think you have to be, right?
You'd have to be. I mean, let's say going back where I used to live, a place called Chopper, we used to dive around on the streets in the concrete and the car parks, come in black and blue, but you could still go back out for more. And I say to be able to throw yourself at someone's feet, you've got to have something a little bit wrong with you. And I once went back to one of the teams I played for, and someone asked someone to describe my technique or whatever, and said you would actually put your head where the people would put their feet. So I don't know whether that was a compliment or just the fact that I'm practiced.
Well, I think it's kind of what's necessary for the job right now. I think that's one of the key attributes of somebody who makes a good goalkeeper. But we'll get on to that as we move through. So I'm guessing that your dad had trials for Newcastle, that you were a Newcastle fan growing up?
No, believe it or not, I'm a Liverpool fan. I've been for 14 plus years, I would say. Again, it was down to my dad. I got to see one of my first professional goalkeeping idols. We managed to get tickets to go and see Liverpool Sunderland. And obviously watched Grobelaar for years on the television. I always thought he was a bit small, but managed to get to see him. And to be fair, the guy was huge. He could literally stand and go like that, touch the crossbar, and I'm like, this is amazing. I had a bomber jacket on, a Liverpool tracksuit underneath just to keep this hidden. But it was an experience because they didn't call it warm up in those days, they used to call it kicking. In the end where we were stood, we got to see what called the kicking. So we got to see Liverpool warm up at the time. And again, that was quite lucky. I got to see Liverpool goal, which I think was scored by Ray on the day, which is a goal back.
I have somewhere in my mum's house, the rear house, top pro code. I have it somewhere. I've got Bruce Grobelaar one as well, because I'm not going to lie, when I was showing my son YouTube videos of goalkeepers I wanted him to admire, Bruce Grobelaar was definitely up there with. And when I look back and I show him some of the videos of the antics that they used to get up to back then, he just can't believe the difference in keeping. And he's 7, and he sees that.
I mean, let's say it's evolved so much now, and you look at Neuer and things like that. I mean, you look at some of the top keepers in the world, and they make mistakes, and they're all over social media. If Bruce Grobelaar had been around in social media time, God, would have made it. But it would have been entertaining, shall we say.
So, you got involved in goalkeeping yourself. What sort of level did you get to when you were goalkeeping?
I didn't get to a great level. I'd say probably Saturday, Sunday football. Again, probably my height was an issue, and possibly ability as well. I was a bit erratic as a goalkeeper at times. Yeah, I could throw myself and make saves. Again, probably make mistakes. I'm playing 5-a-side, got asked to go for the Wallsend Boys Club. But as I said, my dad was a fireman and he couldn't commit to get us there week in, week out. So we had to, we couldn't take that a chance. And I'd say, unfortunately, doing what would have happened, and then once you get back, my dad happened. But you know, I've always enjoyed just playing football, and it doesn't matter what level I've played at. I've just enjoyed it. Same when I've played cricket as well. You know, it's just being around people, socialising, doing what you do, and just relaxing out there. It's fun. It's great.
So kind of, see, your dad passed at 11. Sorry to hear that. Picked up the reins then, because it's quite a demanding role being a football player's parent.
Yeah. At the time, I wasn't playing football properly, so I wasn't affiliated with any club or anything like that. So it wasn't a real issue. It was only a couple of years later when I started playing, and we ended up. Someone that I knew, they sort of took the reins and used to take us down to Saturday League and Sunday League football, take us to places, and they knew someone, so they got us involved at player reveal. And the manager was a guy called Setbacks, and he came to pick us up on a Friday night. We actually think back to late 81, late 2. So again, showing my age. And there was nothing like DBS and safeguarding and things like that. So he used to point people, I mean, he was class. I was impressed because I still remember the car was a green Audi, and some of the roads around where we used to drive like an absolute nut. But as a young lad, you were thinking, come on. And it was, and again, it was one of the very first sessions I ever had, and I actually broke my wrist. And it was the night before I went on holiday as well. So again, Sid took us all with me, handed being an ace, and still couldn't really do anything with it. Tried to go back in, tried to catch a ball again, nothing happened. So the manager took us home, said to me, "Mum, listen, we need to take him to the hospital." And again, my mum was just like, "Oh yeah, take him to the hospital." So nothing was ever mentioned. This guy just took us up to the hospital to get us like sorted out. So I ended up coming away with my wrist in a cast for about 4 weeks, so that delayed the start for the team. So it was an interesting one. And thankfully we weren't going anywhere abroad on holiday. It was just to a caravan, but it was just the fact that we wrist the night before, trying to carry bags and cases was a nightmare.
So how old were you when this was happening?
I think I was probably about 12 or 13, I'd say. So I'd say, honestly, it was just madness. You look at it now and it just wouldn't happen. But on the fun side of that story, my mum actually knew the guy who was the manager of the team, because she's babysitting when we were strange how the world.
Was a lot of that, wasn't there? There's a lot of that. You don't get that anymore because you can't do it.
That's it.
You can't just have random babysitters.
Yeah, that's it.
So, like, obviously you've got that, and then was there much competition at that age for a goalkeeper's position? Because you look at grassroots now, and there's a huge number of clubs, there's a huge number of teams within those clubs.
Probably was, but I wasn't aware of it. And there was lads who were playing goal. Probably the first time I was aware of it was when I moved to Concert. There was a lad playing goal, so I made the mistake of saying I can play in defence as well. So I ended up playing probably a full season as a centre half. And if he got injured or he wasn't available, then I would go in. But that was probably the first time I was ever aware of it. And I think it was the fact that he couldn't play out, but I could play out. So that was just a slight difference there. But yeah, I don't think it was, but then as you go up and you were under 18s, you're a bit more aware of it and you want to play. And then I made the decision I do want to play, and sort of left and went into City.
So at what point did you start to think about coaching as an opportunity for you?
I was probably about 18, a little bit younger. I was a little bit younger actually, because I couldn't drive at the time. So I think I was relying on people around the village. We were also doing the badges to get us courses. And I think it was like a junior team coaching, FA coaching badge at the time. And it was the first time that I actually realised that I stumbled across a guy called Simon Smith, who would have a bit of bearing going forward. So I started doing it there, and I got involved in a local team in and around the village. And I think at the time it was probably something I knew I wanted to do, but I probably wasn't ready. And I was still playing at the time, still thought I could play and do whatever. So I sort of gave it up for a few years. That was when I became a parent myself. And I sort of gave up playing football. I thought, can I give the game up? I need to stay involved. So I'm not going to do it. And then from there, I went and did my level 1, and then very quickly I did my level 2 outfield, and took the opportunity up from there. And there was a guy who I worked with at the time. He took us all under his wing and led us to the club, and the rest is history. What
would you say that your early influences were on your coaching style then?
I think, like I say, being a Liverpool fan, I think probably anyone that was a Liverpool manager. So you're looking, I do a lot of reading as well. I don't break enough to do a lot of reading or intelligent, but I love reading. It helps us relax. So you read stuff on likes of Brian, Bill Shankly, Bob Paisley, and you try and sort of mirror what those guys done and what they done really well. You try and sort of think that's the way to do it. And probably some of the coaches that you had, you look at them, but then you look at the game. It was probably that stage when I was coaching, I was doing it the wrong way. Again, didn't have that guidance that you do now, so I was doing a lot of probably shout, thinking that was the way to cheat people up. So yeah, I think you learn a lot, but again, you put it down and you mark it to one side, and then you come back to it at a later date and think, right, what would I do differently?
And so for anybody who's watching along, if you don't know who Simon Smith is, and I imagine a lot of you probably do, but Simon Smith was the Newcastle first team goalkeeper coach for a lot of years, worked with some of the best. I can imagine working with Simon, he must have been in his heyday at that point in time in terms of coaching, right?
So I didn't initially work with Simon, and like I said, I started as an outfield coach, then got the interest with being a goalkeeper, hanging around and seeing what's around there. There was not a lot of goalkeeping. So as a lad, I used to play football concert. I bumped into him when I was doing badges, and we got talking. He got on about goalkeeping, and so that led us into going, oh wait, is there any opportunities to come and work with the county? Sort of stuck my neck out a little bit. He took a bit of a risk on us, so it pitched us to the manager. Didn't have any goalkeeper qualifications at the time, so I thought, what am I going to do? So again, just having other things, you hear names, and Simon Smith was one of the guys that came up. And to be fair, Simon has had a big bearing on the first part of my career. I slowly use a lot of Simon's drills now, but he was absolutely fantastic. His level of detail in everything he still says is really relevant now. Done my level 1 and 2 with Simon. And again, it was just the opportunity to talk, and then, like I say, do his own stuff to begin with to get us that experience and take things with. I think it was probably the first time as well I got into just the S&C, and we think, what's this? Now I'm getting a little bit older and starting to organise things a little bit better and understand things. You then link out, see how it links in, but Simon was absolutely great, and like I say, a lot of his stuff I would still do now and then progress it into the other stuff that I do.
And so you kind of, in your coach career, then moved from Northern League into the National League. What's the biggest difference in the demands that you've seen?
Wait, I think the pace of the game and the quality of the players that you're playing against. Northern League, it's a good standard, take nothing away from it. But when you move up a step and you go into National League North, your pace is so much quicker, they're technically better. I was fortunate with 3 goalkeepers during my time there, and we brought both one in as a junior, and played a little bit for the club at Wembley. But I think, like I say, just dealing with the lads, because 2 of them were pro clubs, so you're learning how to deal with that. I think I didn't probably get the full understanding of it. If I went back in, I would do it again and probably better equipped, but it was a learning experience, quick learning experience. But it was, let's say, just a hell of a step up. And let's say, you think some of the lads that you're working with and some of the coaches they're working with and trying to pick their brains, but not pick the brains so you're a nuisance. It's just
finding that,
yeah,
how to
everything.
Yeah, how to extract the information without being pain in the backside.
Yeah.
And I get it, right? Because everybody who's good at what they do learns from making mistakes, but they learn from other people's mistakes as well. I think that's key to it. I've always taken, when I work with a good leader, I learn from their best bits, but I also pick apart the worst bits, and just you kind of decide for yourself what you want to be known for and what you don't want to be.
That's it. That's it. I mean, like I say, I always try and be me. I think pretty much what you see is what you get on the tin. I'm as deaf as a bush, and I think that helps with the kids as well, especially when you're working there at junior level. You've got to be as deaf as a bush, even though they're going to come in, they've had a bad day at school or whatever, but you've got to just be yourself, and you're just got to be open in a conversation. But I think you just got to treat everyone the same and just treat them with respect and have a bit of chat. And like I say, it doesn't matter who I'm dealing with, I'll have a bit laughing, a bit joke. And like I say, we've got something going stupid at the camps where I started it, and now we've got the assistants in, and like, it's like, it's a stuff there's where I go down, you pull the hair on the back of someone's leg, and they jump. And it's just stupid, but it gets everyone engaged. And you've got like, people come and go, I do like,
You've been working with Luca at 9.
I'm probably the village idiot, but someone that is actually quite serious when I'm on what I want to do, and when it comes to learning, I love it. I get a buzz from it. I want to do it. I want to make sure I do the best that I can do for everyone I'm involved with.
So, last year you had a goalkeeper win the Golden Goal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Middlesbrough women won the league. So for anybody who's watching along, what's your position with Middlesbrough women?
So I was the Middlesbrough women first team coach, goalkeeper coach. Sorry, I'm no longer part of the club now. I think came to the point where I had a busy 3 year, and I think everything was taking its toll. I'd started about 3 years ago, chilled, and I'd been more managers in my career than I'd ever had. I was fortunate the chairman wanted us to stay when one coaching teams got sacked. And then I got the offer from Spennymoor to go there. I felt bad, but at the same time, if I was up there, I'd want to do exactly the same. I'd want to try and push myself at the highest level, go as high as I can. And like say whatever happened at Spenny, didn't happen at Spenny, and left there, and then got the opportunity to go to Borough. In the middle of everything I'd been doing, I was at Spennymoor as well. I was doing my way for being, so I was travelling down with wheels. I was doing coursework on the bus, going to and from games while the lads were asleep or the coaches were asleep. I was doing coursework on the coach. And then they said in the middle of all that, keep a full-time job down, and I'm working for other areas. And then I think probably last year, all the travelling, I think everything just took a bit of a toll. And I just needed a break from it. Just have a spell away from like probably senior football and Saturday and Sunday football, and have a little bit of time at home and just do something I enjoy. And that might be the journey to watch a game of football over there with my mates and things like that. I think it's just nice to have that time, not to be pressure to go right, finish work. I've done a 34-hour week, 37-hour week, and I've done. When you put 20 hours a week in as well for a club, it's a lot. And you dissect goals, you break things down, you've got plan training. It is a lot. So I think this is just taking sabbatical. I've got a few things that I'm working on. So I kept picking them, putting them down because I never had the time to do it. So now when people are out of the house, I'll just crack on and do a little bit, work and get everything in a bit of order that I wanted, and then hopefully come back fresher with everything in place and ready to go again.
I think that's important, though, is kind of that self-awareness that you've reached the edge of where you were prepared to take things at that point in time and just stepping back to go.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, I think in the past as well, I think it's a huge lesson from the past, because I put everything else, I put football first. Like sometimes to an extent of family second, and just to try and get ahead in the game, because I came out of the club and going straight to coaching. I've started coaching at probably 23, 24. I've had a family, house, bills to pay and things like that. And trying to get into that area from there is just very hard. And like I said, I thought, right, I need to do this, and don't get us wrong, I've worked with some amazing people all the time. And I think one of the best managers I've ever worked with I'll still say at this day, if he asked me to go and work with him anywhere, it would be the county manager, Jim Thompson. He just knew how to treat people right. He knew, I think probably a bit of praise for him is like compared with like a Phil Shankly type character. He knew how to drop a good word into someone to build them up at the right time. And he was just fantastic.
I think you called it out there, right? Like, you've worked with some of the best goalkeeper coaches in the world. It's probably the most important thing that you've took away from all of those lessons that you've learned.
I think they say, you look at the guys that we work with, I say it's not name dropping, with Eric Steele, Jack Robinson, and Dave Watson, I've been working with a guy called Tony Elliott as well. They're all human, all personable, they're all very mellow characters, they're all very calm and centered, and I think they're prepared to listen to people and put the person first and get to know the person, and then understand what it takes to get to the goal. Like I say, you can't knock the guys and share the knowledge that we've got, and again, try not to be a nuisance to them and call them every week, every month, or anything like that. But just if I've got an issue, can I call you? And it's like, yeah. But like I said, just the way, the mannerisms. And I was talking to one of the lads I used to work with, Borough, who did the S&C for the junior camp, and one about Eric, and he was on about like how personal he is and how interested he is and how much attention he pays to people. And I think it's just things like that. I'm not saying I didn't do that anyway, because I think that's more of who I am. But I think you work with that type of people and you think the levels that they've been at and still and everything about them in his brain.
Yes. I think it's interesting because I bet for a lot of the people at home, that's probably not the answer they'd be expecting. They'll be expecting you to say, oh, well, I love working with X coach because, they taught me so much about this technical aspect of the game. But actually, you're right, the most important thing is swap to people game.
Yeah. Like I say, it's great. I mean, we do what we do on the grass and in the sessions, but we also learn a lot about each other away. So sometimes after every camp, we come in on the first day, we have a debrief, And it's just a chance for all the coaches to invite and just feel what's going right, what's going wrong, can we do it? And, I think we get to do it. Like I say, we eat together on camps and that. We live however far, but we come back, we'll have a meal. It's just nice, and I think it's just nice. Yes, we're still talking football, we're still whatever, but it's just nice to have that meal and that social time. It's just a nice atmosphere to be in.
So, based on everything that we've kind of talked about today, we mentioned at the beginning that your professional idol was Bruce Grobelaar. How do you think Bruce would fare in today's game? There's lots changed, right?
Really, a lot has changed. I don't think you'd be able to get away with as much of his eccentricities now as you would. I think as a shot stopper, you'd still be in there. He probably could still play with his feet. So, it'd be interesting to see. I think, again, it's probably a more difficult game now for goalkeepers than what it was, because obviously you could get the ball, pass back to you could pick it up, and then go again, pass it out. Liverpool fights anonymous without the time to kill a game. But whether he could do that, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
And what advice would you give to young keepers today? And I guess I'm gonna refine that question to the hardest part, I think, for any goalkeeper at a youth level is setbacks and defeats and the goals going in. What's your advice to them to get through all of that?
I think, like I say, it's something I've learned. I was terrible as a player. If I made a mistake, I would dwell on it. And I think that made me worse. Especially over a season, I'd come back after the break and do it. And I think, especially as a young keeper, accept you're going to make mistakes. Use them as learning opportunities. A lot of times I say to young goalkeepers in training, it's the best place to make mistakes in training. Use them as a learning opportunity. And if you're brilliant, if you're a manual lawyer, I'm out of the job, so you don't need me. But we're still helping you to get better, and that's what you need to do to get better.
Fantastic. Well, Iain, thank you very much for being the first guest of this season's podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And if you're watching along at home, you enjoyed that, please do give us a subscribe, like, follow, whichever platforms you're watching us on. We'd love to have you follow along. We're going to have some amazing coaches on the show alongside Iain. Keep watching, and you'll see more. Thank you. Bye-bye.